So Port Vale achieved promotion at the first time of asking last season then. I think it's easy to underestimate the challenges that Darren Moore had to overcome in order to achieve promotion last season. I think while Port Vale did have a big budget for that division, I think it's also worth bearing in mind that off the back of relegation the year before, they did have a lot of players under contract, and there was a big challenge to rebuild the squad. And one thing that I think squad is quite an operative word with regards to Port Vale's promotion season, because Darren Moore employed quite a rotation-heavy selection strategy for much of the campaign. And I think at times people like me looking at it from a neutral point of view when they were in around it for much of the season and feeling like they didn't quite have that clear identity and that sort of settled 11 that sometimes you might have wanted. But I think the trade-off worked in their favour, because what that policy did do was keep the squad fresh at the business end of the season. And it meant that, like Doncaster, but unlike most promotion candidates, Port Vale grew with the pressure, and they really stepped up at the key moments where certainly with a run of 5 winning 6 in spring, which was absolutely crucial to sort of separate themselves from the chasing pack. And so you've got to give Darren Moore some credit from a point of view of man management and also using the squad to its full capacity. And so I'm curious to see how Port Vale can make the step up, because with the kind of the caliber of player that they have, and they made some statement signings when they're in League Two, let alone League One, with the likes of George Byers last summer. I think they'll probably be looking at a little bit more than survival from an ownership point of view, in terms of what the Kevin and Carol Shanahan are going to be aspiring to. So really curious to see how Port Vale can thrive on the momentum achieved by promotion last season, and whether they can meet their ambitions as they step up a division in a way that they weren't quite able to last time around. That's what we're going to get stuck into in this summer deep dive. Yes, welcome along to EFL Debate. If you like what we do here, you can do us a massive favour by getting subscribed to us on YouTube and on Spotify. I'll be speaking to a fan of each of the 72 EFL clubs between mid-June and mid-July. So if you want more of that, then go and get yourself subscribed. Delighted to be joined by my guest this evening, which is Danny Beza of the Ale And The Vale podcast. Danny, talk to me about last season's achievement of promotion and the contributions from everyone that was required to achieve it.
Yeah, I think a lot was made about the budget that we had last season, and it was a good budget for the league. It was competitive. It certainly wasn't the best budget in the league by any stretch of the imagination. It was probably, from what I hear and what we gathered and what we're told by the club, it was a top 6 budget, and that's where we aim to be. And we finished second. So we outperformed the budget. So first of all, it wasn't the best budget in the league. And money doesn't buy you success. Look at Carlisle, who probably were the biggest budget in the league and ended up getting relegated. So hats off to Darren Moore for spending the money well. I think what we did last year is we built a squad. And I said this all along the season, we weren't the best 11 in League Two. But actually, the difference was when we made substitutions, we were equally as strong with the players coming on as the players going off. Whereas other sides that we played, you could see when a player went off and someone else come on, there was a massive gulf. And I think what Darren Moore did really well was build a squad. And I think that's what he'll be looking to do in League One. And that's what the early business looks like with the players that we brought in. He's bringing in players that improve the overall squad. And football isn't a game about the first 11 anymore. You've got 7 subs on the bench, 5 can come on. It is a squad game now. And I think some teams overlook that. And I credit to Darren Moore because he built what was a really good squad, and it was a great season for us. It really was. And could we have won the league? We probably could. And it would have been nice. But at the end of the day, whether you finish first, second, third, or win the playoffs, we all start in the same position come 2nd of August next season.
Absolutely. Talk to me about what Kevin and Carol Shanahan have done at Port Vale, Danny, because it seems like the latter is a bit more public facing, and certainly the front of the club, if you like. And what I like about her is that she's brought some certain maternal qualities to Port Vale in the sense of caring about people as human beings rather than just as footballers and commodities. Do you think that's made a difference to the performance of staff and players?
100%. Port Vale is a community football club now. Before, under the old ownership, who we won't mention too much because
No.
if I was Grammy, I'd be a little bit worried. It was a place for someone to asset strip, and that's what happened. They've brought into the club and they've brought in the community of Port Vale, and they owned a business in Burslem, Carol and Kevin, and they looked at what can we do for the local community, and the best way to help the local community is to have a successful football club. So when the football club's doing well, people are coming into the town, people are drinking in the pubs, people are buying stuff from the town. It increases the town. But what they've also done is Port Vale Foundation, for the last 2-3 seasons, has won the community project of the year for our league.
Mm.
And the stuff that the foundation does is absolutely incredible. It
It's just
really
as
is.
important as the football stuff, isn't it? It's
Yeah, it is. And do you know what? When we got relegated from League One, the club got battered a little bit for we're a football club, not a community place.
mm,
And fans will do that. And I think the owners have learned that as a football club, what goes on a Saturday at 3 o'clock to most fans is the most important thing.
mm,
However, I think fans have really brought into what they've done. I mean, we've got a community cupboard that helps people that can't afford to feed the family and they can
mm,
go down and just pick up food. We've got the Golden Valiant where people who are, well, they don't have to be isolated. People who have got people can go down, but it's for the older generation who perhaps are sat at home bored. There's honestly, you name it, there's something for everyone. There's Andy's Man Club for men that struggle with mental health. There's walking football for people that perhaps can't
brilliant.
play anymore, and you
Yeah.
name it, that club does it. We've got sensory packs now, which the podcast helped to generate some funds, and we've brought a load of sensory packs. And we had feedback from someone that couldn't take the child to the games anymore because they had autism and they couldn't sit through a game. And we went out as a podcast, did a charity quiz, and we've brought enough for 20 sensory packs, and then we've got more money to give the club for more stuff like that. And what they've done is really brought into Burslem and give a club that everyone can be proud of. And season ticket sales this summer are the highest we've ever had.
Wow.
Last year, the last 3 home games were all over 10,000 fans in the stadium. So for the first time since the 90s, we had 3 games back to back with over 10,000 attendances. And it's a club on the up, it really is. And hopefully that's the foundation we need to carry on building the club to move forward.
Absolutely brilliant stuff, and I think that side of things, I'm so glad you mentioned that, Danny, because I think for any club that's really important, but I think maybe especially in Burslem, which is one of the more less economically advantaged areas of the country, it becomes that bit more important. So absolutely every credit to the club for what they do in that regard. In terms of the recruitment side, there's been a bit of a pivoting, I guess, over the last 12 months, Danny, because whereas you used to have a director of football, you now operate without that model. And I imagine it's mainly Darren Moore who has a large sort of influence on the recruitment process.
Yeah, look, what Carol's done since she's brought the club and feeding into this is she's brought people into the club that she trusts to run the club. And Carol actually last season took more of a back step. She was still there, she was still visible, but she took a back step because she says, I've got people in to do the job. And you've got Matt Hancock, who's the CEO, and he runs everything non-football related in the club. He come from Burton Albion with a really good reputation for what he did in the community for them, and he's now made his way to CEO of Vale, and he runs everything non-football. And then you've got Darren Moore that runs everything to do with football of the club. But he's got a good team behind him. He's got, recruitment specialists. We brought somebody in this summer as a recruitment specialist who's looking over that side of the club. He's obviously got all these analysts there that look at all players and other players that we're looking at. He did have a really good backroom staff. We'll see what next year's looks like because Lee Bradbury's been appointed at Dagenham and Redbridge as manager, and he was one of our coaches last season. And our assistant manager, it looks as though won't be coming back due to ill health. So, all the best.
Well,
Yeah, all the best. So we'll see what staff. But yes, Darren Moore's in charge of football and he gets the final say on all transfers. But it isn't the days of when John Rudge was running Port Vale and he's the one out scouting, negotiating, etc. He's got a team behind him that helps him with that, but he very much gets the final say on everything football related.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of just a final word on Darren Moore, then, Danny, do you think that it's his man management and the adaptability that he's shown have been his big qualities, I guess, that have helped you get promoted?
100%. And let's be fair, at the start of the season, when we perhaps didn't start as well as we wanted, people were giving him a bit of stick for changing the side every week, for not knowing his best 11. But actually, what he did was built a squad. And when people could see what he'd done at Vale and the squad that he built, absolutely, that was down to Darren Moore. And players like George Byers don't sign for Port Vale if you haven't got Darren Moore as manager. Justin Gabriel, who was our first summer signing from Blackpool, come out and said, Jordan, sorry, yeah, Justin Gabriel's the wrestler. Hopefully it's not him. He, the first thing he said was, Darren Moore's brought me to this club. I've signed because of the manager. Jaden Stockley made no secret that Darren Moore had tried signing him 2 or 3 times in his career and finally got him over the line at Vale. There's players that have come to play for Port Vale. Yes, obviously no one's coming to play for free. The package has got to be right for the player. But there's a lot that have come again because of Darren Moore. I believe in him. I believe in what he's building. And Darren Moore's very community focused and he buys into everything that Carol, Kevin, Matt Hancock want from this club. And everybody's pulling in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's have a look at the squad then, Danny. At the moment, you've got Ben Amos as a goalkeeping option and Aaron Davis as well, who I think might have come through the academy. Would you be looking for one more in the goalkeeping department, probably a starter?
I'd be very, very surprised if we don't. We could go into the season as Ben Amos as number 1. And I think people would be okay with that, but you don't like dig anyone out, do you? I think it would just be okay. I think most fans will be expecting a number 1 to come through the door to start next year. And you know what? That's really harsh on Ben Amos because the second half of last season, when he became number 1 and Connor Ripley left us, some of the saves he pulled off and some of the games that he helped us win, especially when we had that massive 7 days where we played Crewe, Bradford and Walsall all within 7 days. And we picked up 9 points and we knew that was going to be season defining before we went into them. And he made some good one-on-one saves in them games. He saved a penalty in the Bradford game. Crewe and Walsall, he pulled off some great saves. And he will probably feel a little bit harsh done by if we do bring in a number 1. But I think the honest answer is we'd expect as fans a number 1 come in, but it won't be disastrous if Ben Amos is number 1 and we bring in a number 2. So it's not like that's a position that's 100% we have to nail on, but I think most people will be more comfortable if we do.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, I'm sure Ben Amos can be a reliable part of the goalkeeping unit either way. In terms of the defence, I'm presuming it's going to be a back 3 next season because that's how Darren Moore likes to operate, and you've played with a back 3 for a number of years, haven't you? Going back to the Darrell Clark tenure. But I wanted to at the moment you've got 3 senior options and Ben Lomax, who's another one who's come through the academy. So again, that's another area where I'd imagine you'd be looking to add another 1 or 2 senior options.
Yeah, I think for certain defences where we're looking, for me, we're probably looking at adding 2. I think at the moment, the 3 you're talking about senior options, you'd be looking at Connor Hall at left wing back. You've got Ben Hennigan. Left centre back, yeah. Wing backs, we're fine at wing backs. We don't need any wing backs.
A lot of them.
Left centre back, Connor Hall. Middle, you've got Ben Hennigan who's in there. You've got Jesse Deborah who could play there, all right centre back. And I think we'll see Kyle John used in the back 3 this year because I think we saw him in a back 3 last season. He did really well. He can play wing back or right centre back. I think we're fully stocked at wing back, but he gives you the option where he can play. Truthfully, he can play either wing back, but he is right-footed. He has played right centre back as well, and I think you might see him used there as well. But we definitely need, for me, someone to come in to be the middle of that back 3 that's going to start week in, week out in his year pivotal part of your centre back partnership, your 3. And then probably someone that's good enough to push to be in that 3. So for me, we're probably 2 centre halves short, and obviously to be a miss, not to mention Nathan Smith that we lost in the summer after 16 years with the club, 9 years in first team. Brilliant player for us. look, was it the right decision? It probably was, to be honest, if you take sentiment away from it, because all the other centre halves were under contract, and we all said if we make the step up, we need something a bit better in there. And he's the only one that was out of contract, so you couldn't have said, well, keep him as a squad player and let one of the others go. And he's been a legend for Vale, absolute legend. And for any of Tranmere fans that are watching, you've got a good one there. Look after him; he'll be brilliant for you.
Well, nice, good words to hear on Tranmere Rovers. In terms of that middle centre back role, you've got Ben Hennigan there, who I've always thought, in terms of dominating his box by heading balls away and sort of organising the people around him, because he is very vocal. That's two big strengths that he's got. So if you're looking to sort of somebody a bit higher calibre than Ben Hennigan, I'm wondering whether you'd want somebody who can basically ideally do what he does, but maybe has a bit more quality on the ball, perhaps a bit more cultured.
I think that's fair to say. I think last year when we had that tough spell, November, December time, come sort of 1st of January, we went back to basics and the defenders were told, don't mess about with it, get rid. We didn't have that ball playing centre half. And that might be a little bit harsh on Connor Hall, but we hadn't got a ball playing centre half. I think that's fair to say. Someone to come in that can put the foot on the ball, is comfortable on it, calm. I think wing backs is going to be a real strength of ours next year. Can perhaps get it out to the wing backs who can then bomb on forwards and do their job. Midfield, we'll get on to it. I think we're stocked in midfield, and I think we've got some real good options there. So yeah, the ball playing centre half definitely one. And Luke Ben Hennigan never let us down last year when he played. Unfortunately, didn't play that much because of injuries. But what I liked about Ben Hennigan is with 10 minutes to go, if you wanted him to come on and just defend, sometimes players take time to settle into a game. Ben Hennigan come on, and you thought he'd been on all games. He was straight into the pace of the game. So no problem with Ben Hennigan being in and around the squad. Jesse Debra, I think it's a big season for him. He's still young, he's still developing, he's strong, he's physical, he's got a bit of pace. At times he can be erratic on the ball, but at times he can, if anyone can go back and look at Kane Emmings versus Crew, he's through 1-on-1 with the keeper, and Debra comes from absolutely nowhere and makes a great last-ditch tackle. And he can do that for you. I think it's going to be a real big season for Jesse Debra, and he needs to improve to be someone that plays week in, week out. But he's at the age where he's good enough to improve, and he's got the stuff you can't teach. He's got the pace, he's got the aerial ability. It's kind of the calmness that he needs to be taught, and who better than Dan and Moore to teach you that?
Yeah. What I'd probably say though, Danny, is that with Jesse Debra, the first time he was at League One level, it was a massive step up. You gone from Halifax, right, in the National League, so that's a 2-division jump, wasn't it? So I think that now he's had that first season in League One, and then the second season in League Two, which was probably a better level for him. I think he might be more prepared because, like you say, he's got those raw minerals, and hopefully with a bit of that extra experience, he might be able to do better in League One the second time around.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, like I say, it'll be a good test for him this season, and it'll be exciting. And look, last year he played, and he spoke about this in one of the local sorted articles that we do here. When we went Notts County away, he'd knocked on the manager's door the week before because he'd been left out of the Colchester game. And he said, "Why have I been left out?" And I said, "Well, you're in next game, and you're in the middle of the back three, and I want you to do a man marking job on Yatta from Notts County." And he was incredible. In fact,
right.
Oman away, he had Yatta in his pocket, Oman away, and Vale fans haven't got the highest opinion of him just because obviously we only saw him twice last season, and both times he didn't get a kick because of Debra. So he's certainly got it in him, 100% he has.
Sounds like the kind of player that needs a bit of a challenge, where it's like Darren Moore said, okay, I'm going to start you, but I want this from you. I want you to do it against Alassane Jatta, and sort of laying down the gauntlet to it almost, which I quite like. So.
Yeah, I think he is. And he's a player that is probably a confidence player as well, because you can see when he has a bad game, his head goes, and sometimes he's then out the team for 2-3 games before he's brought back in.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, hopefully it's a big season ahead for Jesse Debra. Connor Hall then, Danny. I like him because he's a very aggressive centre-half, and he's also very dominant in the air at 6'4" as well. Would you expect him to start at left centre half, or would you think there could be a possibility that Carl John becomes first choice there?
I think Connor Hall starts there 100%. Kyle John's probably more likely to be right centre half. He could do a job at left centre half, but he is right footed. And to be honest, Kyle John's fantastic. He'll do you the job wherever you ask for him. He's a proper proper old school defender. Love Kyle John. But yeah, I think Connor Hall starts unless someone else comes in at left centre half. I think most Vale fans would want Connor Hall start, but there probably is some that are thinking last time we made the step up to League One, he wasn't great. And then he ended up being sold to Colchester due to family reasons. Some Vale fans are a little bit nervous of that. For me, I'd point to who was playing left wing back before without being disrespectful, but he's got much better people playing on the left side with him this time than he had last time we were in League One.
Yeah, well, speaking of the left wing back spot, Danny, I was a little bit surprised you signed Liam Gordon, who I think was reasonably good for Walsall without necessarily being outstanding. Because, like we mentioned, you've got Kyle John who can play there. You've got Jack Shorrock, who's an exciting talent. You wouldn't necessarily expect him to start every game, but he might want some minutes at this stage. You've got Jaheim Headley, who, when he's fit, I think can make a huge difference. I love his athleticism. You've got Sam Hart there as well, and I think even Planty can play at left wing back too. So that's a lot of options for one position. So I'm surprised that Darren Moore prioritised that extra signing in that area.
Yeah, I think Jaheim Headley is your first choice left wing back without a shadow of a doubt. He was incredible for us last season. He only actually played 6 games after we signed him from Huddersfield because he picked up quite a bad injury in training. But he played 6 games, scored 3 goals from left wing back, got 2 assists and 1 promotion. I mean, what more can you ask from a left wing back?
20 goal a season wing back.
I'll take that. If he can do that, I'll take that. But without being disrespectful to Sam Hart and Jack Shoddock's only just turned 18. He made his debut at 16. He's still learning the game. You probably don't want to be relying on him week in, week out. And then when you talk about Sam Hart, again, without being disrespectful, there was a big drop-off between Jaheim Headley and Sam Hart.
Right.
I think Sam Hart, it wouldn't surprise me if he leaves the club this summer. Whether that's a 12-month loan to see out his contract already goes, wouldn't surprise me. Or he may be used as the backup to Connor Hall at left centre-back. I don't think we'll see Sam Hart at wing-back. I think it's Headley and I think it's Gordon. And I think Gordon, it's amazing, isn't it? Because for half of the season, Walsall fans thought he was fantastic. They wanted him signing new contracts, and then when they realised he signed for us, apparently he's the worst left-back they've ever had. So I don't know how that one works. But no, both games against us, he was good. He was very good both games against us. Yes, he made a mistake at their place that put our striker through for the third, but he put a ball in after 12 seconds that their lad headed in, was ruled out for a push, rightly so. At our place, he was incredible. I think him and Headley, there's not a great deal between. I think Headley's just above him at the moment.
No, I think if Headley's fit, I think he's a lot better. Because what I would say, Danny, is when Liam Gordon's best form in the first half of the season, that came when he had Nathan Lowe to link up with. Because Liam Gordon, basically, he kind of cuts inside a lot from that left wing-back spot. So whereas they had another wing-back who was very good at attacking the flank, Gordon cut it inside and liked to link up with other players. And he actually had an overlapping left centre-half called Taylor Allen, who's got a lot of goals for Walsall as well. So Gordon won't threaten so much on the outside, even though he is quite quick. Whereas I think, how Headley can just knock the ball ahead of himself and just run for it. I don't think you're going to get that from Liam Gordon. So I suppose that would be my slight apprehension if Headley isn't able to play the number of games you're hoping for. I don't think Gordon will be able to do that same thing. But I do personally, I probably prefer Kyle John. But because I quite liked his relationship with Ronan Curtis from what I saw. But yeah, that's just me.
Yeah, no, honestly, I think Gordon will be there or thereabout. I think Headley, I agree, is the first choice, and Headley was incredible for us. What Huddersfield fans said when we signed him is questionable defensively. We didn't really see that last year because the 6 games he played, we were probably on top of. So he was driving us forward. As you say, you can't argue with the goal involvements, 5 goal involvements in 6 games. So we all know that can't carry on next season. He isn't going to play 46 games and have, 44 goal involvements. We'd love it if he did. But no, I honestly think Liam Gordon's a step up of what we had. And again, I see Kyle John as more of in the back 3 than wing back next season, given the options we've got. Sam Hart, I think, will go out on loan. Planty obviously didn't play for us last season. He went out on loan to Yeovil twice. He's got another 2 years, I think Planty has. And again, he's a young lad, he's developing, but I could see him going out on loan to get regular game time.
Okay. Well, we'll see how that unfolds. In terms of the right wing back option, You've signed Jordan Gabriel, who's certainly very talented at Blackpool. Task for him, I think, is going to be one, beat the injuries, and two, find some consistency. And I guess you've also got Mitch Clark, who might stay on. Hopefully, he's going to sign a new deal.
He signed.
Oh, he signed. Brilliant. Oh,
Signed.
great news.
Mitch Clark signed, yeah. So we've got them both next season. And again, as I said earlier, the wing backs really excites me. And again, I think what people forget in modern football, your wing back doesn't play 46 games a season. Even if they're fit, they don't play 46 games a season because sports science doesn't let them. So what we've got there is we've got 4 wing backs for me and Headley, Gordon, Clark, and Gabriel, who are all more than good enough for League One. And I think there isn't a big drop off between any of them. Gabriel, I'm really looking forward to signing to seeing him play. From what I hear, plenty of pace, likes to get forward, and that's what our wing backs do. Mitch Clark had a really bad injury last pre-season to the point where they thought he could have been made to retire. He come back in January, and probably if you were marking player of the season from January onwards, Mitch Clark, for me, would have won it. It's certainly in the conversation. He was incredible when he came back. So really looking forward to seeing him in League One. And again, people talk about Mitch Clark's injury record. With us, it's always been freak injuries. It's not like his calf keeps going or his hamstring keeps pinging. He had a really serious neck injury last pre-season where he broke his neck. And he broke his kneecap, I think, or his leg somewhere the season before. So they're not injuries that are reoccurring. The season before he comes with Accrington, he played over 40 games. So Mitch Clark is not injury prone. He's been unlucky. So to have Mitch Clark and Justin Gabriel down that side,
Jordan Gabriel,
Jordan, he'll always be Justin to me. But to have them down that side is incredible, and I think what all the wing backs will offer for us is pace, attacking threat, and people that really want to get forward.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll see that next season. So the midfield then is an area where I'm really looking forward to talking to you about, Danny, because I mean, if it's a 2-man midfield, it's the ones really Ben Garrity and Ryan Croasdale, and a star player of Sheffield Wednesday in recent years in George Byers wouldn't actually be starting, which is a really exciting prospect from a depth point of view.
No, I think George Byers is the first name on the team sheet. I honestly do.
Okay, so if it came at the expense of Garrity or Croasdale, you would start him. Okay.
And you haven't spoke about Reece Walters. And I think Reece Walters is one of the first names on the team sheet because Reece Walters come back. He was incredible when he came back last season. He's 19, he's strong, he's physical, he's calm on the ball. He can receive the ball with 2 men round him and he'll just turn, shrug him off and he's gone. I honestly, and I think it'll be a 3-man midfield. Darren Moore, we're assuming the formation is going to stick with us what was last season, which is a 5-3-2. And that's what we're assuming. Who knows? We're in League One now. He knows League One better than us. He might tweak it. But I think we'll play 2 sort of holding midfielders, if you like, which one of them will be given the freedom to go, which it's a tough one because Ryan Croasdale was player of the season last year, and we could really be looking at he's your backup. We really couldn't. That's harsh on him because he was player of the season. But George Byers has got to play when he's fit because he's got that quality on the ball. He's got that calming influence. He's brilliant. Reece Walters, for me, has to be on the pitch. He's 19. It wouldn't surprise me if in 12 months' time we're talking about a 7-figure fee for him. I really think that.
He has that kind of metronomic influence, doesn't he, Danny, where he can just keep the ball ticking over and, get the plays going. So, I like that aspect.
And then Garrity is probably your attacking midfield option then, which is where we've seen the best out of him and where he scored double figures for us before playing sort of behind the front 2. And let's not forget we've shined Shipley.
Yeah, I don't know if Shipley starts many games next season. I mean, because I don't think he really. I don't think he'd improve the best 11 or for those 4 players. I think it's I think it's great that you've got that kind of competition in central midfield. Yeah,
and Rico Richards is back.
Yeah, I loved Rico Richards last season. He made such a difference from the bench in games, didn't he? He really lit games up.
Yeah, and I honestly think our midfield is done now. I think we've got plenty there, plenty of different options for different games.
Yeah.
Rico Richards is good enough to become a starter week in, week out. He won't start the season as that. It's up to him to influence games off the bench and then be knocking on Darren Moore's door saying, look, the last 2 times I've come on, I've scored, I've assisted. I want to be starting games. Shipley, I agree. I think he probably comes in as a squad player. However, he's got the quality. We've seen that when he was at Coventry. He's had a bit of a rough time at Shrewsbury. But again, we talk about it's a squad game. We've got rid of, he was out of contract. Jason Lowe's left, who was a great professional, had a great career, played at the Premier League, but his time had probably come. And Shipley is a step up on that. So again, we're improving the squad as we go.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think Shipley's versatility at Coventry was regarded as a big thing. And he was in a really good group and a good culture. And Shrewsbury have been struggling in the last few years, so it's easy to see how he might have gone a little bit. His career might have gone a little bit wayward as a result of that. So hopefully Darren Moore can help him in that regard. Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about that telepathy between Jayden Stockley and Laurent Talage, Danny, because Stockley is that real target man presence, and Talage sort of playing on the right of a front three. I initially wasn't sure about it because I thought you'd want your striker as more of a central role, but it's actually worked out really nicely, hasn't it?
Well, first half of the season, that's where they kind of played him. Second half of the season, we went to the 5-3-2, and it was Stockley up front with Talai next to him. And we were playing 2 strikers, which, yes, Stockley was your target man. Stockley's your one that's bringing it down, laying it off. And Talai was your busy lad around him.
But I thought, Danny, you had games where it was like Ronan Curtis on the left of the front three, and you had Stockley and then Talaj slightly to the right.
First half of the season, second half of the season, when Curtis played, he was playing as a striker, and it was kind of a choice between the 3 of them. So Ronan had come on as a striker, or Ronan would start with Talai up front if Stockley was rested or got a knock. So no, second half of the season, we didn't play a 3 up front. It was always a 2. And it was Stockley and Talai as your first choices. And then you got Ronan, you got Hackford, who's obviously gone back to Sheffield because he was on loan. So you got different choices. You got Jerry, who was on loan from Crystal Palace. But it was definitely a 2 up front second half of the season.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see if we carry on with that next year, or whether in the nice, we're not the big boy next season. In League Two, we were the big boy and the one that everyone was looking at saying we need to beat them. So it was up to us to take the game to teams.
Sure.
Next year, we're under no illusions. There's much bigger teams than us in League One. So we'll see how he lines up. Will it be 2 up front? Will he sacrifice one of them to perhaps put an extra man in the middle or go with the width? But no, Talai from January onwards played as a striker, and he was brilliant for us.
Oh, yeah,
it
sure.
Ended on 15 goals. He's got that little bit of a maverick about him where you're not quite sure what he's going to do. He's not, and how would you describe him? Because he's big, but he's not your natural target man. He's got a bit of pace over 5-10 yards, but he's not your play off the shoulder, but he can do them jobs. And then he can score your tap-ins from the 6-yard box, and he can also score your ones from 15-20 yards. So Talai was a real good find for us. Obviously, we signed him from the conference. That was his first season in the Football League. If he carries on progressing the way he is, he's another one that could end up being sold for 7 figures for me.
Right. That sounds really exciting. So, I mean, again, there you've got what seems to be 4, I suppose if you include the attacking midfield spot, 5 really exciting attacking options there, because you've got Stockley as the target man, Talaj, who's the goal scorer that you described really eloquently there. You've got Ronan Curtis, who can play sort of down the middle, although he's also played out wide earlier in his career. You got Rico Richards, who's a very versatile forward, and Ben Garrity, who's your pressing 10, he never stops running. So again, some really healthy dilemmas for Darren Moore, both in midfield and in attack.
Yeah, definitely. As I say, I think midfielder's done. I'd be surprised if we bring in another midfielder now. We do need some more strikers on the books, I think, because at the moment you look at it, you go Stockley and Talai are your starters, and you're probably not going to get a full season out of Jayden Stockley because he does pick up knocks. He gets battered because of the size of him, and he's in his 30s now, so he probably isn't going to be playing your Saturday, Tuesday all the time.
Well, Danny, this is why I think buying a ball-playing defender who can operate as that middle centre half, but who can do much of what Hennigan can do, would be a big priority at this point, because that helps you play a bit more football on the deck, and therefore, whereas last season I think your form massively improved when Stockley came back from injury in the second half of last season, possibly because the style sort of depended on his target man presence to win those flick-ons for Talai and co. Whereas you're maybe going to be less dependent on that if you can play out a bit more and open teams up in different ways.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why we probably need another big man to compete with Stockley. But we also need that young lad option that will come on off the bench to insert some pace that will run in behind. Obviously, Hackford did that for us last year and was great for us. I imagine that being a loan signing, a young lad that's coming in to learn. Kean Arrett did it for us last time we got promoted out of League 2 3 years ago. So for me, we need a striker that's going pushed to start with Stockley, Talai, Curtis. Obviously, Rory Payton's coming back. He's been on loan at Dundee the second half of last season and by his own admission, probably didn't set the world alight. So it's a big pre-season for him to try and force his way. And otherwise, you might see him going out on loan again.
Yeah, that could be possible. I could imagine that. So I think again, a quick forward would make a big difference to the quality of the squad. So hopefully you can find that. So in terms of additions, then Danny, just kind of looking through it now, I think we've mentioned another goalkeeper, probably another two defenders. I think
and two strikers.
And then probably another striker. So probably looking at 5 or 6 more additions. Do you think?
Yeah, definitely. And I think what the club said last summer, and you saw from our activity last summer, is we were signing players ready for League One last summer. So although last year was a massive squad rebuild, and I think we ended up with 15, 16 players in the door last year, this summer was never going to be that for us. We don't need a complete rebuild. We just need to add a little bit more quality in. And as John Rudge always used to say in the 90s, if you can chop off the bottom 10% and add on 10% at the top, and you do that every year, you're going to push forward. And this year was never going to be a massive summer for us for transfers. And I'm pleased with the business we've done so far. The season's 40 days away now. If we went into the season with this squad, I'd be a little bit concerned. But we're 40 days away yet. There's no panic stations at all. There's time for us to make these signings. Our players have been back in today. So they're back in for pre-season. We've got our first friendlies on Friday night and then Saturday day. So, I expect to see some activity in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And I think centre half is massive. We need that. Goalkeeper, for me, it'd be a nice to have.
Okay.
But it's not overly. It's essential we bring someone in unless Aaron Davies, who's only 17, 18, is really good. And we don't know that at this stage. So we're probably a goalie's a nice to have.
Do with a Hanley Town kind of loan, someone a bit local that.
Potentially. And then, as I say, we definitely need a striker to push the other two, and then a young lad that's coming in probably from a higher club to learn. And I'll be happy with that. And then I think that sees us comfortable mid-table-ish. And I think that's got to be our aim this year. Our aim isn't to just stay up, but certainly our aim isn't that we're going to be pushing the playoffs. I think if we can finish somewhere, I've got 14th in my head, in and around the 14th mark, I'd be delighted with that. And then you build again next summer.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm kind of going to ask you about that, actually. Do you think that there's a kind of... Because previously Carol has spoken about building a championship-ready football club, and I think that infrastructurally the club's in a much closer to that now than probably was last time you came into League One. So I'm wondering, is the aim to try and to be in 3 years' time, say, be a team that's striving to win promotion at the top of, be competing at the top of League One? And so this season, like you say, it's not about let's just stay up, but it's not, we've got to be challenging for the playoffs, but it's kind of that, can we get into the top half? Can we solidify ourselves in that mid-table area?
Yeah, absolutely spot on. That is what it is. And look, if we can be Christmas time flirting with the playoffs and we're 3 points off the playoffs and, it gives you something to look up to, and then you end up finishing 14th, over the moon with that. But I think you're right. For us, Carol spoke about getting the club championship ready, and a lot of media outlets took it out of context, thinking she was saying we're ready for the championship. She wasn't. She was talking about getting the
club. I don't know
what
media, that's got to be media spin that. I mean, that's pretty clear. The championship. Yeah.
Yeah, it was this is the long-term ambition. And look, as a football club, if you haven't got ambition to be better than what you are, what's the point? So, yes, the ambition is to one day push to be top end of League One, sneak into the Championship. Then let's see if we can punch above his weight there. And Luke, that would be punching above his weight. Some Vale fans don't like to hear that. For me, our natural sort of position is a mid-table League One club. So, yeah, there's no reason you can't punch above your weight and get up there. I remember following Vale for 30 years where Fulham were a League Two club season in, season out. Brentford, they were no bigger than us. We played them season in, season out. Bournemouth, the same. And them clubs have
Brighton even.
exploded. Brighton, even, yeah. Brighton, I remember them winning the title at Vale Park in the old Division 4 when Bobby Zamora was up front. So, look, as a club, you've always got to be ambitious. We're under no illusion. For us, Championship is pushing ourselves, but let's get there. Let's go for it. And there's no reason over time we can't. We've done it in the 90s. I know football's a very different game now than it was then with the money involved and how much money you have to spend to get there. But look at Leighton Orient last year. I don't think anyone would have put them in the playoff final. So,
Yeah.
as a club, you've got to strive for it. And yeah, that's not this season's aim by any stretch of the imagination. But 3 years' time, I don't see any reason we can't be a team that you look at and go, do you know what? Vale have put a good side together here. There's no reason they can't sneak in the playoffs. And then who knows what happens.
Yeah, that's got to be the ambition. So, as you know, Danny, I'm doing my 1 to 24 predictions in late July. I've underestimated Vale a bit at 1 or 2 occasions.
You did last season, you did.
So, one of my processes for that this year is to rate each team out of 10 on 14 different categories that I think are going to determine their fate. So, what I'm going to do is throw a category at you, and you give me a number between 1 and 10. How's that sound?
Go for it.
Nice. First category is ownership.
10.
10 out of 10 for ownership.
Yeah.
High praise there. Infrastructure.
7.
7 for infrastructure. Nicely
Yeah.
growing there. Playing budget.
I think will be better than people think, but not. Probably 5, because I think we'll have a mid-table-ish playing budget. I really do.
Mid-table playing budget, okay.
I think so.
Management.
8. Managed at every level of the English pyramid.
8 for the Darren Moore and staff. Goalkeeping department. I guess we can't really say until we know who the other goalkeeper is, but let's say if Ben Amos is the number 1.
This is going to sound harsh. I'll probably go 4 at the moment.
Okay.
But I do think another goalie will come in.
4 for now, but could be higher depending on who comes in. Defence as the personnel is right now.
Right now, are you including wing backs in this?
Yeah, we can do.
That pushes me up to 5 with wing backs. If it was just the centre halves, I'd be a little bit nervous at 4, but I think the wing backs will push it up to 5, maybe 6. Go 5. Let's be conservative.
Okay. Midfield, quite a high one, I imagine.
Yeah, 8 midfield. Honestly, if we can keep that midfield fit, I'm not saying it'll be the best midfield in the league, but it will be a very, very good midfield in League One.
Nice. Attack.
At this moment in time, I'll probably go a 5 again, mid-range, because I think Stockley Talai will be more than enough on their own to keep us up without injuries. But I do think to get a sort of 6, 7, let's see who comes in, because I do think there'll be more additions up front, yeah.
Makes sense. Depth for this stage of the window.
Another 5 mid-table, I think. And I'm classing 5 as sort of a mid-table team, because I think you look at it, we went through the squad, and at the moment we need a backup goalie, we need a backup centre-half and a backup striker, but wing-backs are covered, centre midfield's covered. If we went into the season with Stockley, Talai, Curtis, Payton, I think we'd be okay with that. We just want a bit more. So, yeah, I think it's okay, and I do think we've got players on the bench who can come on and not make us any weaker.
Yeah, we saw that last season. Squad stability.
That's got to be a 7, because we've kept a lot of the players that brought us up last year. A lot of and I know every team that's winning talks about how togetherness the squad is and all that, but you genuinely saw it. So, yeah, I think 7.
7 for squad stability. Growth potential is the next one.
I'll go 7 again, because we've got some young players. You've spoke about Jack Shoddock, who we haven't got starting, I don't think. You've got Reece Walters at 19, Talai's still a young lad, Jesse Debra's still young, and so I think there's a lot of growth in this squad. I really do.
Nice, 7 for growth potential. Team spirit. That's got to be high, hasn't it?
Got to be high, yeah. Got to be high. That's got to be a 9, I think. They've just been promoted together. As I say, at the moment, there's only 4 new players in. That's got to be high.
Fitness.
Darren Moore gets him fit. That's a 10.
10 out of 10 for fitness. There we go.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
One more, which is quality.
Ooh. If we're looking at the overall squad, which obviously we are, let's go 6. If we were looking at certain positions, I'd go a lot higher, and other positions a bit lower. But overall, let's go 6.
Okay, 6.
And again, that could improve yet because there's still 40 days for the season.
Of course, yeah, that's the obvious caveat for this stage of the window. So some final quickfire questions from me then, Danny. First one would be, what's the biggest reason to believe in Port Vale right now?
It's a club on the up. The infrastructure of the club, the people that work at the club, the squad that we've got, the manager we've got. This club is in 100 times better position than it was last time we were in League One. The club's ready for it. Everything's there. We're a proper community club. We're a club that cares. I think most teams, when they come to us, ask Reading fans what they think of Port Vale, ask Plymouth fans what they think of Port Vale. Perhaps don't ask Walsall or Swindon or Cribb. But, the majority, it's a proper club. It's in the heart of the community. It's a proper stadium that's in the heart of the community. It's not on one of these retail parks where you're out to the town. Yeah, it's just a great club. It really is. Best club in the 92, and I'm going to say that. But everything we do for the community, everyone that works there, makes you proud to be a Vale fan. It really does.
A comment from Alex Manning saying, sounds like a done deal for Marco Morosi. I think he's been a pretty experienced goalkeeper in these divisions over the last few years. So I think, are you glad to hear that there is another goalkeeper coming in?
Yeah, and again, I don't think he played much last season, did he? I think he got a bit of an injury, so a lot of people will look at his stats and go, I think Cambridge signed him and he played twice for Cambridge and then did his hamstring in. But you Coventry fans rave about him. I think when he was Shrewsbury's first choice, they raved about him. So if he's coming in, and there is a lot of reports in the national sort of Twitter space to say that he could be coming in, and that's a good deal for us. And he's probably someone that knocks Ben Amos off the number 1 spot.
Yeah, the other thing is, last time he played regularly for a good side like Coventry in the 1920 season, they won the League One title. So clearly he can influence towards the top of this level, and hopefully Darren Moore can get that out of him.
Yeah, definitely.
Biggest reason for doubt?
There's no reason to doubt the Vale. No. At the moment, it'd be, we need to just add a little bit at the back and a little bit up front. That's the only reason I doubt us at the moment. Because I honestly think the momentum coming into the season, confidence is high. And again, that's not me saying we're going to make a run for the playoffs. That's me saying to be a comfortable mid-table team, confidence is high. I think our budget, as I say, will be a mid-table budget. I think people will expect us come in and be a bottom 4 budget for some reason. It won't be.
Yeah.
It was a good budget last year and it'll be a good budget this year to do what we can do. If we went into the season today, I doubt us a little bit on depth, but I fully anticipate that'll be sorted in 40 days' time. So I honestly have no reason to doubt us.
There you go. And finally, too early for a prediction, but give me a feel on for the direction you think next season might take. You mentioned earlier you think could be around the mid-table 14th mark.
Yeah, and that's exactly where I've got as 14th for me. At this moment in time, I think, even with the additions, in my head, I just can't get 14th out of my head. I think we'll be a comfortable mid-table team. Obviously, over the season, there'll be some results that disappoint us, and you go and get that. But I think there'll be some sides that are really shot by us. I suppose going back to the doubt and feeding into this one, the only thing is, can we keep the players fit? Because we know that George Byers hasn't played a great deal of games for us, but I actually think League One will suit him better. And he's had a full summer of training this summer, whereas he didn't have that last summer because he come in with a knock. So, yes, as with any team, if you get the heart of your team ripped out through injury, that's going to affect you. So can we keep players fit? And we have got one or two players that we know that, George Byers wouldn't be at Port Vale if he played every game every week.
Yeah.
So it's nursing them players through. We know Mitch Clark's had a bad injury record at us, but again, that's not occurring injuries, that's freak accidents. Can we keep Mitch Clark, Gabriel fit on the right hand side? Because if both of them are out, that probably causes you an issue. So fitness is just keeping players fit from knocks, and players will pick up knocks, but it's making sure that, like last season, for a month we had one centre midfielder fit, and that was the bad spell we had.
Well, I expect you'll probably avoid that this year with the quality that you've got in midfield. So that's one thing I'm really excited about. Danny, great to have your insight on Port Vale this evening. Thank you so much for joining me. Everyone go and get subscribed to the excellent Ale and Vale podcast. Thanks for watching us at home. If you like what we do here, you can do us a massive favour by getting subscribed to us on YouTube and on Spotify. That would really help us out. And we'll see you again for another Summer Deep Dive very soon.